In the previous video, I described the first 7 of 14 roughest nights I experienced on my circumnavigation, all of which occurred in the South Pacific in seasons 1 to 3. Here I describe the second set of 7 rough nights, which occurred in the Indian and Atlantic Oceans in seasons 3 and 4. Number 8, Cocos Keeling to Rodriguez, Day 5. 5 days out of Cocos Keeling on the central 2,000-mile passage across the South Indian Ocean on October 1, 2024, I knew I was going into some strong winds, as shown by the red areas ahead in this predict wind forecast, which also shows many of my fellow cruisers ahead who reported rough conditions. It not only blew hard that night, but also most of the next day, near the end of which I even bore off west-northwest for a few hours. Note that we were crossing the 90 East Ridge, where the ocean went from 15,000 to 5,000 feet deep, which might just have contributed to the large waves we were surfing. It's Tuesday the 1st of October. I haven't filmed much. We had really nice broad reach sailing the first couple of days, and it was a little light yesterday. We went to wing on wing like this, and as forecast today it has really built. We've got about a third of the jib, and we're down to the quadruple main, and I'm hanging on here, the back of the boat. Got a bunch of squalls come through. There's a big one over there to the north, and the wind noise would be bad, but there's a big one over here to the south, and there are 2 more chasing us. Tonight I'm going to take the main down completely, take the pole down, put the jib on the other side, and then I can furl it as needed. Should be a wild night. Sunrise, 2nd, I guess it is, of October, Wednesday. We had a really rough night. A really rough night. Down to a quarter of the jib. And a lot of the time actually slogging along. Fancy outside, enough is enough. Gave it half the jib. And sea change has been doing great, but just as I got up here at 6 and put the supporter seat up and was sitting over here, got thrown right over on our side and soaked this water seat. And then, I wish I'd got this on film, literally 2 minutes ago, we got caught by a really, really big wave. It spun 45 degrees, and then the next wave immediately after it caught us side on, splashed right over the top of my solar panel that I have here as a splash protector. It's pretty crazy out here. But this is what was forecast, a band of strong wind, and then it's going to go light again. Probably have this happen a couple more times before we get done. Woof. From my blog post that evening, what a night and what a day. A stark contrast to yesterday, it was anything but a gentle night. Indeed, it is right up there in my pantheon of rough nights. It simply got windier as the night went on. Around 10, we were down to only a quarter of the jib and still doing 4 to 5 knots. I struggled to sleep, the ride was just so wild. And it turned out that was just the start. By 8 in the morning, the sky had cleared and the sun seemed to invigorate the wind even more. We were getting slewed around all the time, even with the jib furled to less than a quarter. Eventually, by 9, it was getting serious. I furled the jib to a handkerchief and reset our course to dead downwind, heading west-northwest, and buttoned up the companionway for 3 hours, hunkered down in my bunk, alternately snoozing and listening to the wind howling in the rigging, while waves hit us from either side like bombs going off. Here is my tracker with that day 5 in the middle, the green dots indicating blog posts. And the bear off west-northwest is evident as we cross the 90 East Ridge. Number 9, Cocos Keeling to Rodriguez, day 15.
After 10 more days of pleasant conditions sailing directly towards Rodrigues, another southeast blow was forecast for late on Friday, October the 11th, with the forecast showing entirely red or 25 to 30 knots. We are the white dot on the middle right, and the brilliant sunrise, followed by mare tails high in the sky the day before, suggested that we were in for a blow, which arrived late afternoon as seen in this clip.
Now all hell's letting loose. We're into a squall. Got the jib filled down to less than half. Ay, ay, ay. It is pretty wild out here. I'm thankful for the splash guard and this furless system, and hopefully a still strong jib to keep us going. This is crazy. I think it's just a squall. I don't think this is the real thing, but who knows? Could be much worse than this tonight.
By midnight, we were down to a quarter of the jib only, and from my blog again. Every hour or so I made small adjustments to keep us doing 5 to 7 knots in the right direction, with some sleep in between despite the racket and wild motion of the boat. At first light the situation was just as chaotic, if not more impressive, because now I could see the steely grey and seriously big and chaotic waves under a leaden overcast sky, so went back to bed. It was 9 before I braved sitting in the sheltered corner of the cockpit on the windward side, bracing my feet against the other side of the cockpit, enjoying the wild sailing while waiting to get splashed, which inevitably happened, and with the cool wind I was quickly chilled, so back to bed.
Alright, it's Saturday morning the 12th. We survived the night. It was crazy, and it's still pretty damn extreme. The wind is blowing the tops of some of these waves. It's got to be in the upper 20s. But yeah, we're moving along nicely. We've got a third of the jib down, about 25 knots tonight. We're on a broad reach, so we're taking the waves in the morning, which is a bit of a problem, but you can see that we have blue sky in front of us. The waves are starting to look a little bit cobalt in the sun. There's the clouds behind us. It rained pretty much all night, drizzled or rain, and the seas are just grey, steely grey in the morning. Every now and again one of these waves clips us a good one, and we're gonna get skewed around there. They break on the crests, hammer us, but it's the ones which break right on us. They are the ones that splash clean over the boat. Anyway, it's been great fun, and it's slowly easing.
This was one of the blows that lasted through the next day, but things eventually settled down, and a day later we arrived in Rodrigues, having survived our second longest ocean passage, one that is deservedly known for rough conditions. A few years earlier, Webb Charles was knocked down on this crossing in his ultralight displacement Moor 24 named Gannet. And just a month earlier, the Centurion 45 Water Music lost her rudder in the middle of this passage, and after the crew was rescued, she was scuttled. Number 10, under Madagascar. The 6 days rounding the bottom of Madagascar on my 14-day passage from Mauritius to South Africa, which was the most complicated passage of my circumnavigation, were a mixture of light, adverse, and then strong conditions, as shown by the changing directions in our track. The roughest night was forecast for directly below Madagascar, a well-known acceleration zone. I, the red track on the right, headed south to avoid the strongest conditions. The other 2 tracks above me were 2 big Outremer catamarans that blasted straight through the red zone. Having previously been overpowered with just the staysail, in preparation for this passage in Mauritius, I had swapped out my standard staysail for a smaller one I sometimes called a storm sail. I spent the day before the roughest night on port in glorious conditions, preparing for this blow, securing everything below, and preparing my Warp and Jordan series drogue on the stern.
And now it's midday, November the 4th, and it is glorious, glorious, I tell you. Hey, there's a shearwater whipping along. Trouble Reef Main, and the full jib and storm jib. And we have been doing 5 to 8 knots all day long. Oh, it's just so utterly lovely. Could not ask for more. Although, in 2 days' time, I'm going to get a whole lot more by the forecast. It's going to get red on the screen. That means we'll be down to just the storm jib, or maybe just a sliver of the jib. Oh well, as Ollie the wind hippie would say, that's future Hugh's problem. Today is glorious.
The next morning I tacked to starboard and headed west below Madagascar and made final preparations for a rough night.
Oh, it's Tuesday the 5th of November, and we're being chased by the squall at dawn here. But we have pretty nice conditions, medium wind, and we had a really good sail last night. Goodness me, really fast downwind sail. Jib pulled out to port and mainsail prevented out to starboard, and we have a very pretty morning. Lovely pink clouds, and I may need a bit more sail. We've got third reef here, storm, and the inside jib. Sea change looking very colourful in this light. Pretty.
I moved my bunk to the port side and secured heavy items like the outboards to the strong center table. We were just past the midpoint of the entire passage and into a red forecast where we are represented by the white dot. That night of Tuesday, November the 5th turned out to be as rough as expected. In the middle of the night we were down to just the storm jib, but struggling to stay on course as sea change kept heading upwind. So I unfurled a little of the jib and backed it to keep the bow down. At 4 a.m. I finally figured out the problem was a broken line supporting the windward pulley on the wind vane lines, and having fixed that and doused the storm sail, we continued with just a sliver of the jib out. With the storm jib down, we were finally under control, headed where I wanted to go, but I was disappointed that the wind vane failure prevented me from finding out if the storm jib alone was good for these conditions, and I did not try it again, preferring to rely on the furled jib. An obvious alternative would have been to install the staysail on a furler, and I even bought a used one to do this, but never got around to it. Number 11, rounding the Cape of Good Hope. After a wonderful sail south from Port Elizabeth in the Agulhas current, I had tacked west and passed Cape Agulhas in good conditions at sunset on Saturday, December 21st. That night was a rough ride, almost dead downwind with a quarter of the jib out, sailing northwest and approaching False Bay, and the blow continued through the next day as I approached and rounded the Cape of Good Hope.
It's just blowing so hard that I don't have any choice. Quarter of the jib out, we're doing 5, 6, 7 knots. Seas are building. We're going to have a wild ride across Table Bay. Yeah, here we go. Getting pretty close now. You can see clearly now the two lighthouses, one on the top and one over on the right, and then Cape of Good Hope is the rock on the left below everyone.
Number 12, leaving Cape Town. After 2 months in Cape Town, I left on Sunday, February the 23rd, 2025, in a light southwesterly that was forecast to back to south and strengthen, which it did by Tuesday 25th, as shown by all the red in this forecast for that night. From my blog, it was indeed a rough night, with the wind building all evening till it was shrieking through the rigging, so I progressively furled the jib till there was just a sliver out, and we were still doing 5 to 7 knots when not surfing. It was extremely rough below, and I could not sleep, just lay in my bunk, hoping sea change would hold together, especially the jib and the wind vane. I was up regularly to retrieve items that had broken loose and were banging around, and closet doors that had never come open before were opening and banging. Waves were regularly smashing against us, sending spray clear over the boat. These conditions continued all of Wednesday and that night, for one of the longest blows I experienced.
Now it's Wednesday the 24th. Man, we've had a wild ride since Cape Town. Sheesh. But we've survived. These seas. Last night was right down to a sliver of jib. Now we've got about half of it out. And the seas are wild. But we're making good progress. 130 miles each day so far. This is day 3 now.
I was also sailing in the major shipping lanes, adding to the difficulty of these 2 nights, being woken repeatedly by AIS alarms triggered by ships within 2 miles of us, and in broad daylight one even ignored VHF calls, forcing me to avoid it.
This monster container ship is called HMM Algeciras, and it wouldn't respond on radio. So I had to
Number 13, crossing the doldrums. When I first crossed the doldrums from north to south on days 4 and 5 leaving Panama, I experienced the expected calms and big thunderstorms with 2 rough nights, but I lost all pictures and clips from that passage when I got my phone wet in Nukuhiva. When I again crossed the doldrums in the Atlantic from south to north on Wednesday, April 9th, 2025, I had a similar experience for 1 night.
Last night I thought I was done with the doldrums. Found the northeast trades, we were off to the races, headed straight west-northwest, but then, oh my goodness, we got absolutely hammered by a squall. And yeah, I had to hand steer for a while. Eventually got the jib filled, main down to triple reef, and we continued through the night like that using the autopilot. And then this morning I woke to this one squall after another all around us, and I got the jib down to about a half, still the staysail. The main is down to quadruple reef. There's the one that we just survived. I hand steered for an hour through that one. That wasn't fun. Here's yet another squall. It's 9:30 in the morning. 12 hours of squalls now. And there's just a chance that if we can get through this one, up ahead it's a little bit lighter. But yeah, it's crazy, and the sea state is nuts. It's tossed all over the place. Anyway, the doldrums is teaching us a lesson. Oh, what a difference an afternoon makes. Sun's going behind some high clouds now, but it finally stopped raining. Finally, the last squall. I lost count. It was crazy. It took the whole morning. Actually started at 10 o'clock last night. And now, with the wind really settled back in the northeast from a beam beach.
Here is our track, happily sailing northwest in the new northeast breeze during the day and evening, then hit by a huge squall with wind out of the south that drove us north-northeast for a few hours, followed by 10 hours of squalls, through which we slowly made our way back to our northwest course, and once the sky cleared, were able to continue northwest to French Guiana. Number 14, below the Bahamas. My strongest blow happened near the end of my circumnavigation on Wednesday, 25th of June 2025, as I approached the Bahamas, intending to cross northwards through the middle of them. My PredictWind tracker here is a mess of GPS glitches, but it does show the green dot of my evening blog post on the right as we skirted the southwest tip of the Grand Bahama Banks. My iSailor chart is much better, showing how we described a gentle curve northwards for most of the night throughout the wind event, before changing my mind the next morning and turning back southwest to the old Bahama Channel. I simply allowed sea change to survive the blow rather than bear off and run before it, in part because I was unsure how long this unpredicted event would last, so I did not want to use up our sea room. From my blog the next evening. That turned out to be a horrific night, perhaps the worst of this whole adventure. I posted at 9 and slept immediately, only to be awakened an hour later when all hell let loose with howling wind and the jib flailing so wildly it shook the whole boat. I leapt to the cockpit and furiously furled the jib, fortunately having the foresight to set up the furling line on a big winch with the handle already in it. I pleaded with it not to tear, and took it all the way down to just a sliver. I had previously set the boom with the mainsail hanging from it, but securely bound, far out to port, so that was all the windage we had. By now the wind was shrieking through the rigging, sea change was heeling over, the wind vane was pinned, and we were slowly sailing at 2 to 3 knots, abeam to the wind and rapidly building seas.
Well, that was around 10 o'clock, and this windstorm, or whatever it is, has just started to ease up a little bit now. It's midnight. I have no idea what this is about. There's no rain. The lightning I saw in the distance stayed there. It's gone now. So it's no big deal. We got lots of room downwind, and our course is still where we were wanting to go. 2 to 3 knots we're doing, but the waves are getting so big, not enough to be dangerous. We're not going to get rolled or anything, but we're just getting tossed around, so I can't even sleep through this. So yeah, I'm not sure what this is. I'm not sure how long it's going to last, but I'm very glad I'm not at anchor, because without having put out the hurricane anchor, almost certainly a dragged in this, and if there was an island or a key behind us, wow, that'd be real trouble. So got to rethink my plan of going to Jamaica Key tomorrow night, or now tonight. Yikes, never experienced anything like this before. Almost makes me wish I had a wind meter, but man, it's way above 30, got to be 40 knots.
I am extremely grateful that sea change held up through all these rough nights and some days and got me successfully around the world to Florida.